All right, now, just to copy something and flip it, which you do for most symmetrical designs, I am simply going to take the small selection tool, the white arrow, hold down Shift, click on all these different paths, so they're all selected, you can see them all there. Then I'm just going to go to Edit, Copy, Command C, and just to be safe, I'm going to create a new layer on top, select that layer, and now I'm going to say Edit, Paste in Place. So it's not just as simple as Command V, because that will put it in the center of my artboard here. Instead, I want to paste in place. It will put it exactly on top. It's like duplicate Command J in Photoshop, but there's not the exact same keys here. So now, because I put it in a new layer, you see it's outlined not in red, but in green, a new color. It doesn't matter, it's just telling me which layer I'm on. To be safe, I can lock the red layer so I can't accidentally change it. And now, once they're all selected here in layer 3, my green layer, I'm going to click on the large selection tool and then hit Command T. To take that back, it gives me a type tool I don't want. So instead I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to go up to my transform options, which are under Object at the top, and I want to flip it horizontally, right? But they don't use the same terms here. So transforming here has similarities with Photoshop, but not the same vocabulary. So instead, I want to reflect it like a mirror. And I want to reflect it on a vertical axis. So it will give me something on the right that matches this. So I use vertical, I say OK. And then I can just use my arrow keys to move it. And the reason I'm doing that instead of clicking and dragging is that will keep it in line directly with what it's reflecting. And then I can place it. Now I can check that with my sketch. And I got it a little bit further away than I have in my sketch. So let me try moving that a little bit in. Again, putting it on its own layer makes it very easy to select and to move. There we are. See if I like that. Yes. I'm going to save it. I'm going to zoom out, see if that still reads really small. It does. It looks to me a little bit like the Al Jazeera logo. At least Al Jazeera America. It looks kind of like a combination of that and a royal crest, like this German China company that my father collects. With the little insignia. They also created things for the Nazis. So, just throwing that out there. They're no longer in business. All right. So if I think that that works, then great. I save it. This is my vector black and white design. But let me show you a few other things we can do with it. What if I want to punch a hole in some of these shapes? All of these are kind of cleanly cut out black shapes. You saw how I used the Pathfinder tool to connect two different paths into one path here. Let me show you how I can use the Pathfinder tool to cut out a shape. So if I use the shape tools and I make, let's see, and I make a little circle eye. If I hold down Shift, it will be a perfect circle. I can fill that in with white. But that doesn't mean it's actually cut out. That means it's a floating white shape on top of the black shape. If I want it cut out of this shape, what I need to do is, with the Pathfinder, select both paths by holding down Shift. You'll see that in my layers. They're both selected. Then use the Pathfinder tool, and instead of combining them, which would just take this one out, it would exclude it. So this is the exclude option, which takes anything that overlaps and cuts it out of the compound. So now I have one single shape. It's right now filled with white, but I can fill it with black. And now that hole is cut into this existing logo. The only problem with doing that, I'm going to go back a few steps before I did that, is then I can't modify them separately. Whereas here, while they're still separate, I can play with the eye and change it all I want. I can use the large selection tool and transform it, try different sizes. Because if I'm going to do it, I don't want it to disappear when it's small. Different placements. I like using perfect circles where I can. Looks like a curvy exclamation mark now. So I like that. Other little tweaks. I think it's an optical illusion, but this curve feels a little bit bumpy or flat here, even though it's even just one curve. So to make those little alterations, I just use my small selection tool, and I play with the Bezier curves. And I'm going to lengthen it a little bit. And I can tweak all of these and smooth them out. Until you're just really, really happy with what you get. The logo should be kind of so clean. There's no kind of overthinking it. If I wanted to add a mouth, I could try that. Yeah, I like that. So making your final refinements before you save it as your black and white. Very good. But before I forget, I'm happy with that white. What do I need to do to combine it in? I have to select the shape that it's overlapping and the shape itself, and then I have to use the Pathfinder to exclude them, and then choose the new fill color for them. I could even try adding in another shape. Maybe that's too goofy. But these shapes have a lot of power. And you can see that Illustrator gives you a lot of helpful guides, kind of showing when you're lined up with other shapes or when you're centered. That when you have different layers unlocked, can be very helpful to you. So what's the class's opinion? Do you like it with the with the pupil in there or without?
Without.
I think maybe if it was,
I think it's
if it
harder to
wasn't a
see.
circle.
Say it again.
If it wasn't a circle, just a perfect circle maybe, just maybe slanted a little
Without.
bit.
Just the
Yeah.
light.
It's harder to see with it. Because like if you.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think without keeps it more graphic. My problem with making it like an almond shape or something is that I think it would become too specific. I don't know. Not generalized enough. But yeah, those are all different variations I could try. And that's what's so nice about only trying to please yourself here. You're not trying to please a client. All right, so if I'm happy with that, I save it. I don't have to erase the pupil. I have it as an option. I just have turned it off in my layers. Right? And now to save it as something you can actually turn in for your black and white, you're going to save as not an AI file, but an EPS file first. Keep all of your options, especially the transparent should be clicked. And now, as an EPS file, you can bring it into Photoshop as a smart object. And you'll see when we put all this together to turn in, you'll see how that works. Okay, some other things. Now that I've saved it, that you can play with. Let's say I select everything. I have everything unlocked. I just draw a big box around it with the large selection tool. You can see I have it on 2 different layers, but it doesn't matter. I can go up to Object. I can try some other things. Under the path options, I can try simplifying. There are just lots and lots of options. So let's say that you did it and you just want to see what it would look like a little bit smoother, a little bit softer. So you have these simplify options. You want to turn on preview. And you'll see that if I want to just preview what it would look like smoothed out, that's what I have now with 100% curve precision and angle threshold of 0. I can increase my angle threshold to 100. That allows me to have all the different anchors I have. And I can take my curve precision down and kind of simplify the shapes quite a bit. And then see what I get. So yes, that simplified my curves. It gave me a lot fewer anchor points, but it did not do good things for the rest of it. Right? That's where Command Z comes in handy. But it can be helpful element by element sometimes. I can go to Object, I can go to Path, and I can go to Simplify, and this is kind of an interesting option too. I can try using only straight lines to create my image. And it will turn all of my curves into straights. Again, not exactly what I'm looking for, but element to element, that might be an interesting option. For instance, I might really like the straight lined versions of these leaves. They're kind of funky, kind of more antlerish. So maybe I copy that and I keep that on the clipboard and then go back before I did that and then make a new layer where I paste that in and say, which one do I like better, the nice and curvy or the angular strange? So it's good to play with some options. Right now, how do we make it into something we can turn in? Well, we go to Photoshop and we say File, New, and you're going to create a new file that is 8 inches tall. I'm sorry, 8 inches wide, at least for my logo, which is more landscape format, by 10 inches tall by 350 pixels per inch. This will be Carl Assignment 6 black and white logo. And you'll get a white page, and then you're simply going to drag on your EPS, and it will come in as a smart object that you can modify